Just got done with my first ride on the Boosted Mini X, which is actually my first ride on a boosted board, period. First thoughts. This thing is actually a little scary coming off of a longboard. So if you're used to the longboard feel, you don't have that cushion that you would when riding a longboard because there's just simply not enough foot real estate. So what I mean by that is, for instance, when riding, you know, especially the e-boards, you got to pay a lot more attention because you're going at faster speeds and all that. But for instance, when riding, you know, with the longboard and that longer deck, you have a little bit more wiggle room to not focus as much on your balance. So when you're riding, you typically want to have a forward leaning momentum. That way it counteracts the board pushing you forward and it evens out. So with this, what I quickly figured out is if you lean back too far, which is a lot shorter of a threshold than when you have that longboard to balance you out more, the board will pop up from underneath you. So the first time it happened to me, I was trying to come off of a street and then go up sidewalk onto the handicap accessible area, and it has like those rumble strips for the blind people. So I went to, you know, like you normally would, shift your weight, that way it makes it easier to get over the bump. But I went back as far as I typically would if I was riding a longboard, and the board flew from underneath me. Luckily I caught myself and it wasn't a big deal. And that actually happened to me probably two or three more times while I was out giving this a test. But I will say immediately off the bat, as far as range goes, I am thoroughly satisfied. I won't say thoroughly, because I haven't had a chance to really run its paces yet. I did a lot of stop and goes just because of traffic or because I wanted to switch modes. I didn't ever touch the beginner mode because I just knew that would be too slow. Since I did have that inboard that I just came off of, I have a little experience under my belt now. So I didn't waste my time with the beginner mode, but I will be doing a in-depth test later on to see what it's like riding the beginner mode from 100% all the way till the board just stops running on me, and so on and so forth for the other two modes that this board offers. But for now, I haven't touched the beginner mode at all, so I did all my riding in the Eco, and I believe it's the Expert mode is what they're calling it. So with those two modes combined, along with going up one hill twice, you know, there and back, I was able to pull, I believe the Boosted Board app gave me 7.5, and then I used another tracking app called Strava, and that clocked me in at 7 miles. But I do know that I was late in starting my recording for the Strava app, and I believe I started it about a quarter mile into my journey. So all in all, given what Boosted gives you as an estimate, with my weight, I weigh 185, I'm 6'2", and using the Boosted, I have it estimated on the Pro mode from a full battery that I would get about 6.9 miles. I did do most of my riding on the Pro mode. I started out, out of the driveway, up the block, and what have you, on the Eco mode, just to make sure that the Eco would be, I could do it, and then I wouldn't, just jump into the Pro mode and immediately just like fall or hurt myself or something like that. So I was a little bit cautious for like the first quarter mile, and that's when I kicked it into the Pro mode is when I started the tracking app, because I forgot. I was like, oh yeah, let me do that so I can see what that does. But because I was starting and stopping so much, I didn't get a chance to see what my top speed was. So I don't know yet if I was able to get that true advertised 20 miles an hour. I feel at some point I probably was, because I did go downhill a couple times. So I'll have to report back to you guys when I do the follow-up review to let you know what my top speeds have been so far with this board. Other than that, I definitely do notice the difference between the long board and short board as far as this is concerned. I was used to the rougher ride because the inboard that I had previously is a stiff deck. This is obviously a stiff deck. There's no flex in there. There's no room for it to flex. The battery's right underneath the deck, so there's not too much room to flex at all. So you do definitely feel every bump, every crack. But what I have noticed so far is that because of it's a short board, you feel every crack. But the other thing is, your natural tendency, and what you should really do is, shift your weight when you're coming over a crack to help you get over. However, it goes back to that board coming out from under you if you are still pushing up full throttle. So that's something to look out for if you do have one of these shorter boards, or if you're thinking about getting one, when you're going over large cracks in like the sidewalk or road, or just trying to get up in elevation over like a curb. You do have to watch your weight shifts, as well as not only your weight but how hard you're pressing the throttle. I honestly would recommend probably the best course of action probably either to, if you're not braking while you're going up, coming like into a coast. That way you just release the throttle, but you're still engaged on the release button right here. You're still engaged right here. That way, the wheels are still rolling freely and it doesn't really mess up your minimum and throw you off, that sort of deal. Other than that, I will say another thing that I did learn today is if you put the remote in your pocket, turn it off, because I was going to do this, originally trying to do this interview outside, and I'll see if I have the clip, and if I do, I'll post it here so you can see. But I had the remote in my pocket, didn't remember where I put it at, and I went to sit down on the board to start the interview, and then the board just takes off into the street. Luckily, no traffic was coming or anything like that, but definitely gave me a little bit of a scare there. And other than that, I actually do like how they ship the tightness of the trucks. It's pretty relatively loose, so the board carves decently well. The remote feels good. Oh, but what I will say is the provided lanyard that they gave me. Let me take this off so you can see this. But it broke. Like, I had it on my keychain, that way, like, if I ever dropped it, like, while riding or whatever, it would, just immediately, like, hit my leg, I could pick it up or whatever. And I, like, let it go, didn't drop it, I just literally just let it out of my hand, let it go, so that I could do something else with my hands real quick and adjust the board or something. And it already broke. What's up with that, Boosted? Like, I know it's just like a lanyard and you guys didn't spend all your R&D on your lanyards, but that was sucky. Like, what if I would have been like riding fast or something and like lost control of the remote, and then like my remote got lost in traffic and broken, and I have to buy a new remote? That would make me sad. Cue sad music. But no, seriously though, it is a little disappointing. Like, this is probably the, not from Boosted, but it's like the third lanyard I've ever had break on me, and it's just always disappointing. Like, like you don't put too much stock in it, but you expect something like this simple to work. But with that being said, oh, the other thing that I noticed, board these wheels are a bit slippery. I don't know if that's just because of the dirt and stuff that was on the bike path that I was riding on, or if there's I know that there's some grass or whatever, but that wasn't the areas where I typically saw it slipping around. But the wheels seem a little bit slippery, so I'll have to follow up with you guys on that, because I mean, it's just something to be cautious of and something you have to learn about the board when riding, what you can and can't do. But other than that, so far, loving the app. The app does seem to be pretty true to distance-wise. Another thing I love about the app is you can set notifications for when you want for battery levels. So for me personally, what I've done is I set it to 50 when the battery gets to 50%, because my mentality behind it is once the battery gets to 50%, I know if I turn around, I can get back to where I started from, and I shouldn't have to end up walking. And then what I did find out on top of that is, so the default is set at 20%, right? I changed it to 50, but the app by default will automatically give you a low battery reminder when you get to 30% or below. So you get a 2-for-1 there if you go with my technique. That way you know when you need to turn around, and then you know when you get that second reminder of that 30 or 20% range, whatever it gives it to you, that you need to either coast a little bit more to try to squeeze some more juice out of the battery, or you know that you're going to be walking relatively soon if you're not close to where you want it to be. So I do love that feature. And then I had one more thing I wanted to say, but I can't remember, which means I'll have to put it into the next one. So thank you guys for watching, and I will follow up with you guys in a 50-mile review. See you then.